Jai Gurudev. So we'll do Patanjali Yoga Sutras 6 today. Steadiness in Samadhi. So how does steadiness in Samadhi begin? Who remembers? Nature shakes, earth shakes. What did that mean? Did you get it? See, this entire Prakriti, entire nature is made up of the 5 elements: earth, water, fire, ether and air. Everything that you look at around you, look around you right now, look in your room, the wall, the ceiling, the fan. If there are people sitting in the room, even them, little insects, bugs. Look outside your window. Trees, plants, the pavement, the driveway, the people outside. Everything, the sky, the mountains, water. Everything that you look at is just a permutation and combination of earth, water, fire, ether and air. Yeah? Everything. Now, in this permutation and combination of earth, water, fire, ether, air, what happens is sometimes there is a turbulence in a particular element. Maybe the fire element gets dominant. Yeah? And then nature shakes. Yeah? Earth shakes. Yeah? What happens when nature shakes? Steadiness is lost. Yeah? Right now we are all steady. The earth is rotating, it is moving, but we don't feel the movement. Yeah? Everything is very steady. But what happens when there is an earthquake? Steadiness is lost. Are you getting this? And that steadiness is lost only because of one of these elements. Now understand that these elements that are there in this nature and can affect this nature, the same elements are there in this body. The same elements are there in this mind. Yes. So when these elements move or shake in your body-mind complex, the steadiness is lost. Yeah? You're very shaky, your senses are very shaky. Yeah? And what is Samadhi? Despite the turbulences in this earth, water, fire, ether, air, I maintain my steadiness. I maintain my calmness. That is Samadhi. Yeah? That is steadiness. Yeah? So now how to bring this about? Oh, I have recognized my mind is not meditative, it is not steady, it is all over the place. Yeah? So he says, observe your breath. Is your breath steady or is it shaky? You can even observe it from your eyes. Your eyes are moving here, there all the time. Or are they steady? Yeah? He gave the example of a baby or a child. No? That how when a child is glaring at something, looking at something intensely, its stare is absolutely steady. Yeah? There is no movement, there's no shakiness in those eyes. Yes, that is steadiness. A child is naturally in Samadhi. A child is naturally in steadiness, and you have been there. Yeah? It's just that right now these senses have become all shaky and are all over the place. Just recognize this and bring the mind back to the center and become steady. Yeah. How did it become shaky? Because of the sense objects. I see something, my mind wants to grab it. Yeah? I taste something, I want more and more of it. Again, there is that grabbing tendency. So, the self gets lost in the objects of the senses and wants to grab at them, and that is when the steadiness is lost. That is when the shakiness comes up. So, Gurudev said today that the senses are just a bridge between the self and the sense objects. What does this mean? That this self, there is no difference between the self and the mind. The mind, when it becomes steady, it is the self. The self, when it loses itself, forgets about its steadiness and goes out into this Maya and gets lost in the Maya, it is called the mind. So now, this self which goes out into the world because of Maya and gets lost in the objects of the senses, whether they are people, whether it is a situation or it is a thing. These people, situations and things are sense objects. The self has gone out how to these sense objects? Through the senses, sense of sight, sense of sound, sense of smell, taste or touch. Got it? So the self goes out through these senses and gets lost in the objects of the senses. So obviously the senses are a bridge between the self and the sense objects. When these senses are lost out, when you are lost outside in the sense objects, your prana is shaky. You are not steady. Thus you are not in samadhi. So how to come back to samadhi is to withdraw from these sense objects. Recognize my prana is shaky. To withdraw from these and establish in the center. Steadiness of prana is samadhi. So what do? I recognize, oh, I am lost in person A. Person A said something bad to me. I am feeling very bad. I am feeling very angry inside. When I am angry, what happens? Inside I am boiling. Inside my head is hot. My eyes are bloodshot with anger. My body has become warm. And how is my breath? It is fast. Have you noticed when you are very angry? So my prana is shaky, Just observing this. Oh, this is happening to me right now. My breath is shaky. And inside my energy is all agitated. Just observe, 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 observe. And that emotional turbulence inside will just slowly settle down. Just by observing your prana can become steady. That is the main sutra of this chapter. Steadiness in samadhi. How to be steady. Steady prana is equal to samadhi. So just observe. Whatever you observe, that emotion will turn around. Whatever negativity, whether it is jealousy, whether it is anger, whether it is hatred, whether it is fear or sadness, depression, laziness, anything, whatever negative emotion you are experiencing inside, you will notice the prana is shaky because of that emotion. Just observe, observe, observe the prana, observe the emotion and turn it around. That will bring about a steadiness of prana. So now this takes us to the first sutra of this chapter. He says, Sheena vritti. Vrittis you learnt, the 5 types of vrittis: pramana, viparyaya, vikalpa, nidra, smriti. Yeah? These 5 vrittis, they become ksheena. Yeah? Ksheena is when they are subdued. Yeah? When they are in control. You are not lost in these 5 vrittis, but when you are in control. Yeah? When these 5 vrittis are subdued, then what happens? Abhijatasya eva mani. Man is the mind. The mind becomes how? Abhijatasya. Like a crystal. Transparent like a crystal. What is this quality of a crystal? You put it next to red color, it reflects red. You put it next to blue color, it reflects blue. Yeah? But no color can touch it. Yeah? It remains untainted. You take it away from those colors and just see the crystal, it will be pure, beautiful as ever, untainted. That's how your mind becomes. Like a crystal, untainted, uncolored. Yeah? Just a reflection of what is. It is at peace with what is. Yeah? That is the meaning of Abhijatasya eva mane. Yeah? The next line of the sutra is even more beautiful. Yeah? Such a mind that has become like a crystal. It is not interested in grabbing. Yeah? It is not lost in the action of grabbing. Anything I see, I want to grab. Anything I taste, I love it. I want it more and more. Anything I touch, I want it more and more. Yeah? This is the natural grabbing tendency of your mind, if you've noticed till now. Yeah? This grabbing tendency of the mind drops away. Yeah? And one becomes established. This is the next line. Grahitu, grahana and grahayeshu means the grahitu, the one who is the cognizer, grahana, the object that is cognized, and grahayeshu, the senses through which the object is cognized. You understand cognition, what I'm saying? No? Either I see something, I smell something, I touch something, I taste something, or I hear something. All these 5 are cognition. Yeah? So Grahitu simply is the one who is the seer, or the one who is hearing, or the one who is touching, or the one who is smelling, or the one who is tasting. Grahana. Grahana is the object that is seen, that is tasted, that is touched, that is smelled, or that is heard. Yeah? And Grahyeshu is the sense that is helping in this particular cognition, like an eye, or the ear, the smell, the nose, the tongue, or the skin. Yeah? So you understood what it is? Tatastha tadanjanata samapatihi. Yeah? The distinction between the seer, the sight, and the seen is lost. They are all one, like the crystal is just one, pure, transparent. Yeah? This is Samadhi. Got it? Beautiful, no? The first sutras. Yeah? This is Samadhi. So what is Samadhi? Where you become hollow and empty, completely pure and transparent like the crystal. When you don't see everything and everybody as name and form, but everybody and everything is just that one consciousness. that one energy, yeah, that nothingness. That same nothingness is here in me, is same in him, in her, in that non-living object, in that plant and in that animal. Oh, it is there everywhere. Yeah? Then an expansion happens within you. Yeah? And along with this expansion, there is keenness or awareness. Yeah? Expansion and awareness usually don't happen together in life. Guruji gave us that example, no, of a drunkard. Yeah? He is feeling so happy and expanded. Yeah? But there is no awareness, there is no sharpness of intellect, there is no keenness. Yeah? Another example he gave was when you are needling a thread. Yeah? So you are so aware and there's so much keenness and sharpness of awareness. Yeah? But you are tensed. And tensed means what? The consciousness is contracted, not expanded. Are you seeing this? So usually in daily life, expansion and awareness does not go together. But in Samadhi, expansion of consciousness and keenness or awareness or sharpness of intellect can be attained together, and that is called Sabija Samadhi. Yeah? Sabija Samadhi. In Sabija Samadhi, Patanjali goes ahead and describes 4 types of Samadhi. So let's look at what these 4 types of Samadhi are. Tatra Shabdartha Jnana Vikalpaha Sankirna Savitarka Samapatihi. So what is Savitarka Samadhi? Samapatihi, Samadhi. Yeah? Savitarka Samadhi is that in which Shabda Artha, meaning of the word, Jnana, the knowledge of the meaning of the word, is hovering in the mind. Yeah? Vikalpaha Sankirna Savitarka Samadhi. So basically there is a logical discussion in the mind. This does not really disturb you, but for example, he gave you the example, there is an apple, it is red in color. Yeah? This could happen with eyes open or with eyes closed. Yes? So there is a logic in the mind, that is Vitarka. Vitarka is logic. Yeah? So now you cannot say, oh, I have never experienced Samadhi. Yeah? You have experienced Samadhi. Even in meditation sometimes there are some thoughts and discussions that go on, but they are not really disturbing you. Yeah? A thought that bothers you, oh, he said this, he should have not said this. We are not talking about that. Then you are not meditating. You are completely lost in your thought process or your emotion, your anger about that other person. Yeah? What we are talking about here is when you are in meditation, yeah, somewhere deep down, but there is some kind of a logic. Got it? Savitarka Samadhi. That's the first type. The second type is Nirvitarka Samadhi. Smriti Parishuddha. Smriti is the memory. Yeah? You have gone beyond the memory and you are Shuddha Swarupa. So, Smriti Pari, yeah, you're going beyond the memory, and Shuddha Swarupa. Swarupa is myself. Yeah? I am the pure self. Shunya. Shunya is zero, nothingness. Yeah? Artha Matra, Nirbhasa, Nirvitarka. Yeah? Bhasa is like the Hindi word ehsas. There is just a feeling of my Swarupa. I am. Yes, but I have gone beyond memory. For a few minutes, I forget where I am, who I came with, who is in the room, who is leading the meditation. For some time, all this memory is gone. Yeah, for a few seconds, I go deep into just I am. Yes, I am in my pure Swarupa, in my Shunya, in my nothingness. Yes, Nirbhasa, there is no ehsas. Yeah, there is no feeling. Yeah, I am just in that I am. Yeah, that is Nirvitarka Samadhi. Yeah, the second type. Yeah. The third type is Savichara Samadhi. Yes, where there is some thought. Yeah, it is at a very subtle level. It does not bother you. Yeah. It just comes and goes. Yeah, just like a feeling. Yeah, a feeling just comes and goes. It is not a thought that bothers you. That is Savichara. For example, in your stomach there is hunger. Yeah, so just the stomach does its gurgling and goes away. Yeah, the mind observes that this is happening in the stomach but does not get bothered by it and doesn't get lost in it. Yeah, Savichara Samadhi. Eta eva savichara nirvichara cha sukshma vishaya vyakhyata. Savichara and nirvichara both are sukshma. Sukshma is subtle. The thought is at a very subtle level, almost like non-existing thought. Yeah, very subtle, not in words, if you want to understand it like that. Got it? This is Savichara. Yeah, like you're just sitting and meditating and it is cool. Yeah, so you feel it is cold in the room, the AC is high, but you're not really thinking in those words. Yeah, you just feel the coolness. But then there is Nirvichara now. So what is Nirvichara? Nirvichara Vaisharadya Adhyatma Prasad. Adhyatma is spiritual, Prasad is the offering of that is given to the Lord in the temple and then it is given to you, the Prasad. Yeah. So Adhyatma, the grace of the divine, Adhyatma Prasada. Is what? Going into Nirvichara Samadhi. Yeah, where there is nothingness. Yeah, complete nothingness. There might be a sensation somewhere. Yeah, but still it is Adhyatma Prasada. It is the grace of the divine to experience this. Yeah. Next he says, Ritambara Tatra Pragya. Yeah, Ritambara, very beautiful word. Yeah, this needs to be explained. Let's assume this is the space of the consciousness. Yeah, and in this your mind is just a little small dot. This is your small mind that says, I want this, I don't want this, I like this, I don't like this, this is good, this is bad. It stores everything in its memory. Yeah, it has an ego, it has an intellect that dissects everything. Yeah, but this is all that it is. In the space, compared to the space of the consciousness, the mind is just a small little dot. Yeah, and we are lost in all the ragas and dveshas of this small little dot. When we go beyond this, when we step out of this in deep silence or meditation, yeah, we come to this level of nothingness that we are. Yeah, This is where intuition takes birth, in this space. Yeah. Ritambara is this space of consciousness, yeah, where intuitive knowledge takes birth. Yeah. Actually, it is there, it exists. It's just covered, or you are so lost in this one little dot that you ignore the beauty of this knowledge that exists, but can be experienced only when this small little mind is silenced, is steady, in Samadhi. So Ritambara Tatra Pragya means your awareness becomes so sharp that the supreme knowledge, the highest knowledge, or the intuitive knowledge all becomes completely apparent to you. Yeah, completely comes in your purview. Ritambara Tatra Pragya. And now, beautifully explained next sutra is, it is Shruta. It is different than what you have heard. Samadhi cannot be described in words. Yeah? How much ever I explain to you or Gurudev explains to you, you have to really sit down, make an effort to let go of everything. I'm not interested in seeing anything, in touching anything, in tasting anything, in smelling anything or hearing anything. I just want to be. Yeah, when you sit down and just be, make this a constant practice to just be with myself. Again and again and again, you will come to a state where you reach this Ritambara, this nothingness, this all-knowing space. Yeah, that's the highest knowledge. And that space is indescribable in words. And if it is indescribable in words, it is Shrutta, Anumana, Pragyabhyam, Anya. It is different, Anya means different from Vishaya, from those subjects of knowledge that you have by your hearing or by your Anumana, by applying your intellect, by analyzing. Yeah. So, what he's saying, the knowledge of the highest of this Samadhi is different from what you have heard, from what your intellect can comprehend. Yes, it is beyond what you can even think. Yeah, so your mind or your intellect cannot reach there. It is different from that. It is Vishesha. It is very special and different. Arthatvat. It has its own beautiful meaning. Yeah. That is the description for Nirvichara Samadhi. That takes us to the next sutra. Taja samskara, anya samskara, pratibandhi. Means the impression of a very deep meditation, of a samadhi, can erase all other impressions. Yeah, we all have impressions of anger, of jealousy, of hatred, yeah, of greed, of sadness, depression. Yeah, all these impressions that we have collected. Now let's change this. Now this is your karma bag, okay? It's no more your mind. Yeah? So this is your karma bag, and you have impressions of anger, jealousy, greed, hatred. Yeah? All these impressions are there. Some impressions are positive, some are negative. Yeah? So all these impressions are there in my karma bag. Yes, I am carrying them from lifetime to lifetime to lifetime. And what does a deep experience of nothingness do? What is nothingness? Going into the Ritambara. Yeah? going into that absolute stillness, quietness, solitude. And that nothingness, the impression of the nothingness becomes so strong that it can erase your existing impressions. Are you seeing this? That is what it's saying. Taja samskaro anya samskara pratibandhi. The samskara of a deep samadhi, of meditation, can wipe away all other samskaras completely. You can completely become empty through deep meditation. Yes, this was the way of the Buddha. He just believed in stillness, quietness, believed in refrigeration of the mind. Reaching a state where the mind is frozen. Guruji said a very beautiful thing today, na? That this mind can get lost in the world, but when this mind is still and it is quiet in that silence, in that nothingness, it is such a beautiful state that one can stay in it for 1,000 years. It's so beautiful. So if you're really interested in your own spiritual growth and you're really sincere and committed to yourself, then you must start meditating regularly. It helps wipe away all your impressions and empty your karma back. So all these that we spoke about were Sabija Samadhi. You learned 4 types in Sabija Samadhi. What are they? Savitarka Samadhi, where there is a debate or discussion in the mind. Not a discussion that would disturb you, but logic. Tarka means logic. Savitarka is with logic. Nirvitarka is devoid of logic, when you go beyond that logic. Where there is just I am. I lose all this I am, where, with whom, what, everything is dropped away. Memory is, you have gone beyond memory. But I am is there. Savichara is where there is a thought, but the thought does not disturb you. Like the growling of your stomach, or the beating of your heart. It's just a feeling, but it's not a disturbing thought. And the last is Nirvichara, where you're in complete nothingness, complete shunya, zero, absolute silence. Got it? These are the 4 types of Sabija Samadhi. Sabija means, here Bija means impression. The impressions of your previous sanskaras are still there here. So what does that mean? There is something like a Nirbija Samadhi, which is even beyond these impressions. Let's look at what Patanjali has to say about it. Tasyapi nirodhe sarva nirodhan nirbijah samadhi sadhana pada. So there is a sadhana path, there is a path of sadhana, of practice, which is called Nirbija Samadhi, in which even these impressions do not exist. And that is the most beautiful state. Where this quietness, this shunya, this nothingness can be experienced devoid of the impressions, after all the impressions have been wiped away. Clear? Quick recap. We learned 2 samadhis, Sabija and Nirbija. Sabija Samadhi has again 4 types: Savitarka, Nirvitarka, Savichara and Nirvichara Samadhi. Clear? So homework for today. you practice, sit down and practice meditation. If you have your Sahaj mantra, take your Sahaj mantra. If you have some Gurudev's guided meditations, sit down and just meditate, just be with yourself. Or simply do Kriya and just sit for some time after that. Be with yourself. That nothingness, that company of steadiness or just being established in the center will help you erase a lot of karma. Yeah. So that's your homework for the week. Yes. And if you have any more questions about any of these Samadhi types or anything about today's chapter, feel free to send me an email. Jai Gurudev.